Ladies and gentlemen, there's so many skirmishes going on in the war for America right now that it's kind of hard to pinpoint which ones to hit. So I decided to do a Happening Now episode where I just go over every damn thing that's happening. It's going on 5 o'clock. The day coming to an end. The news days is coming to an end at least. And it's a lot of crap going on out here. Let's start with this. The FCC chairman threatens immediate action against ABC after Jimmy Kimmel tells the audience Charlie Kirk was killed by a MAGA conservative. This is very significant because a huge part of the problem that we have with media is that the media is propagandizing pretty much everyone. It's why you have these leftists who have lost their mind, and not the younger leftists. The younger leftists that's lost their mind, they've been programmed in school on social media. It's the older leftists, the elderly leftists, like the guy that jumped up when Charlie Kirk was shot and said, shoot me, I did it, shoot me. Who the hell does that? Turns out that clown had a whole bunch of child porn on his cell phone. So we're dealing with a bunch of perverted people. And they've been turned over to wickedness and evil. This is what Jimmy Kimmel said.
He had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
And quite frankly, I don't have a problem with the death of Charlie Kirk or the murder of Charlie Kirk being used in this manner. Now, someone could say that his murder is being weaponized. No doubt about it. But the problem that we've had with the left for the longest is the left just gets to say anything and there has been no consequences. I remember a friend of mine started a YouTube channel. He was very excited about his YouTube channel. I had coached him through step by step, one by one, thing to do. And he did about 5 videos, and then he did a video on Hillary Clinton. Do you know, not only did they copyright his channel, they deleted the channel off YouTube. Now, granted, this was back in, it had to be back in 2014. No, 2015. Trump ran for 2016. So it had to be 2015 when he did it. But do you know they deleted the channel? Gone. And the left has never experienced that. They've never experienced when they say something, there are consequences to what's said. I want to go on to Benny Johnson spending some time with the FCC chairman. Take a listen to what Benny and the chairman had to say. And, before I hit this button, the thing that amazes me about the left is, I don't know about you, but I've seen kids, when their parents will tell them something, they'll be like, screw you, mom. You don't tell me what to do. Shut up, mom. I hate you. That's the left. Yeah. No consequence. Their mama never slapped the taste out of their mouth. They never got their tongue washed off with soap. They never got a belt. They never got a switch. They damn sure ain't never had to walk to go get a switch and then pick your switch and then come back and then realize that the switch is too small and they tell you go get a bigger switch, come back with a bigger switch. The terrorism, the sheer psychological terrorism alone of that discipline would have saved a lot of problems for the United States of America. But we do not have children who've experienced this. And now we have young adults who have never been disciplined, young adults who've never seen the other side of a belt. Yep. They've never seen a belt curled up. They've never seen a belt wrapped around their parents' hand like it's a boxing glove. They've never seen it whip around and they've never seen it. And that's how we get these crazy people. It's a lack of discipline.
when you look at the conduct that has taken place by Jimmy Kimmel, it appears to be some of the sickest conduct possible. As you've indicated, there are avenues here for the FCC. So there are some ways in which I need to be a little bit careful, because we could be called ultimately to be a judge on some of these claims that come up. But I don't think this is an isolated incident. I mean, you go back to Representative Swalwell, and he had a tweet out last week where he was saying that, emphasizing that Charlie Kirk's killer was a straight white male from a Republican family that voted for Donald Trump. In some quarters, there's a very concerted effort to try to lie to the American people about the nature, as you indicate, of one of the most significant, newsworthy public interest acts that we've seen in a long time. And what appears to be an action by Jimmy Kimmel to play into that narrative that this was somehow a MAGA or Republican motivated person. If that's what happened here with his conduct, that is really, really sick. And I've been very clear from the moment that I have become chairman of the FCC. I want to reinvigorate the public interest. And what people don't understand is that the broadcasters, and you've gotten this right, are entirely different than people that use other forms of communication. They have a license granted by us at the FCC, and that comes with it an obligation to operate in the public interest. And we can get into some ways that we've been trying to reinvigorate the public interest and some changes that we've seen. But frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead.
What kind of action would you see? I, at the very least, would like to have an on-air apology from Jimmy Kimmel to the Kirk family, to all of those who he slandered, because he did say that Charlie Kirk, he is effectively saying that our movement did this. Our movement killed Charlie, that Charlie was deserving of this, effectively. And we've seen that rear its head. This happens quite regularly, actually, on MSNBC and on other networks where they're trying to victim blame. And what that does, Mr. Chairman, respectfully, is continues the lie and continues the threat level to say effectively that we have no share in this problem at all on the left. This is a clear-cut case. What would you like to see done at ABC?
Well, look, I think what you said there strikes me as a very reasonable, minimal step that can be taken. I mean, obviously, look, there's calls for Kimmel to be fired. I think, you could certainly see a path forward for suspension over this. And again, the FCC is going to have remedies that we could look at. And again, we may ultimately be called to be a judge on that. But yes, this also strikes me as sort of conduct that to some extent it shows some sort of desperate irrelevance. I mean, we're sort of exiting an era where the three main legacy broadcast networks could control and dictate the narrative to the American people. And one of the things that President Trump did when he ran for office, he ran directly at that legacy media establishment. He smashed the facade that they get to control what we say, what we think, the narrative around events. And we're seeing a lot of consequences that are flowing from President Trump doing that. I mean, look, NPR has been defunded. PBS has been defunded. Colbert is retiring. Joy Reid is out at MSNBC. Terry Moran has gone from ABC and now admitting that they are biased. CBS has now made some commitments to us that they're going to return to more fact-based journalism. And so I think you see some lashing out from people like Kimmel, who are frankly talentless and are looking for ways to get attention. But their grip on the narrative is slipping. That doesn't mean that it's still not important to hold them to the public interest standard. That's what we're going to have to do.
I think the chairman articulated that perfectly. It's the death throes of the mainstream media. It's the death rattle, before they give up the ghost. But When your enemy is on his deathbed or on death's ground, they're the most dangerous. And we're seeing this play out in front of us. Now, that's one story. Let me swing over to the next story that I think you will find very interesting. Because remember, if you recall, Brandon Johnson said, we don't need Donald Trump to come up here to Chicago. He said that if you come up here to Chicago and you bring them National Guards, it's going to be racist, it's going to be sexist, it's going to be transphobic, it's going to be Islamophobic, you're going to hurt people, and your words is going to be violence. Remember he said all that? He said incarceration and policing is a failed solution to dealing with crime. He didn't say all this out of his mouth, but let's go ahead and look and see what's going on with old Brandon. Now, before we get into this news about the $90 million settlement that Chicago Police Department is going to have to pay for misconduct lawsuit or basically corruption allegations, I just want to remind you that Chicago said they didn't need any help. Governor Pritzker said they didn't need any help. They say that crime is down. Crime is down. Year over year, shootings are down. Carjackings are down. Crime is down. But when you really consider the fact that the corruption is so embedded, so knee deep, so moist, in Chicago, they got that moist damn corruption. I don't believe none of the numbers that they're giving us. I don't. And I don't think anybody should believe the numbers that they're giving. That's why they don't want the National Guard to come in and take over the Chicago Police Department. Because once they come in and they see the real numbers, somebody going to have to go to prison. Somebody going to have to go to prison. But here's the news, ladies and gentlemen.
There's a proposed settlement of $90 million Chicago must pay related to a disgraced former police sergeant.
That settlement, though, could actually end up saving the city from paying more. WGN's Jenna Barnes has more.
Well, supporters of this settlement, including Mayor Brandon Johnson, say it is the fiscally responsible move, and it closes a dark chapter in the history of Chicago.
This was not a difficult conclusion for me to reach. It was a difficult task to accomplish.
Chicago's Corporation Council is proposing a $90 million settlement to end 176 lawsuits against the city, all
The hell is that thing right there? The hell is that thing right there? Look at that. Look at that. Yeah, look at that. You ever seen the TV show Grimm, where they got the Grimm dude and he run around and he can see through the faces of people, and I think they call them Wessons or Vessons or whatever the hell they call them. I only seen like 2 episodes of it. That's a damn Vesson. I think they call it Wessons. That's a damn Wesson right there. Look at it. Yeah, that's a damn Wesson. That's a bird lady right there. She probably shake her head like this and the whole beak come out. Look at it. And I don't think y'all understand. Man, shit. The more you look at this and you see the areas that have problems and you see the people that are in charge, in responsibility, have something to do with it, it's no wonder stuff is all messed up. It's no wonder it's all destroyed. Look at these people, man. Look at it.
$1 million settlement to end 176 lawsuits against the city, all tied to former police sergeant Ronald Watts and another officer who pleaded guilty more than a decade ago to stealing money from an FBI informant. The lawsuits represent people who allege their convictions were based on evidence fabricated by Watts and his team. All of their convictions have been vacated, and nearly all plaintiffs were granted certificates of innocence.
The liability of the city, from my perspective, was clear.
Mary Richardson Lowry says if the city dragged this out and tried to settle each case individually, it would cost between $350 and $500 million. Under what's referred to as a global settlement, each plaintiff would receive between $150,000 and $3 million, depending on the specifics of their cases and how long they spent in prison.
So it's a big win for the city and big win for the taxpayers. And we need to make sure that we're righting the wrongs of the past while making sure we're taking care of It's a big win for the city and big win for
That Negro right there look corrupt. He look corrupt. He look like if he pull you over, he gonna do something wrong to you. And if you a lady, oh man, look at him, ladies. I want y'all to use y'all discernment. Look at that man's eyes. Hold on, look at them eyes. Look at this. Look at this. If you a sexy lady, you know what I'm saying? And sexy is defined in multiple different ways. You may have one thing about your body that you think is sexy, other things you don't think, but every woman's sexy in her own way. So I'm talking to all y'all. If you a sexy lady, I want you to look in them eyes. And then I just want you to think about what body part he would try and violate. Because that's what it would be. Look at him. Got the traditional demonic gap tooth. Yeah. And that he look like an old devil right there. Yeah, that boy right there look like he a devil. Like he'll rob you blind. He'll set you up. He'll do anything he got to do to you. Yeah, that boy look like a devil. So they got a $90 million case that they're settling. And then Brandon Johnson starts to lose his mind. But this is Brandon who don't need no help. The city's already in a budget crisis. I want to say there's something like it's damn something like $800 billion to $1 billion in the hole. They can't. The educational system is sucky. They having to borrow money to keep the city running. Now they got to pay a $90 million lawsuit to people who was incarcerated wrongly because of this cop. One cop, not all cops. One cop. It's 100 and something lawsuits over one dude, not the force. One dude. And here he is, the maladroit doofus. I gotta stop. Oh my God. Brandon Johnson, man. I need you to understand something is wrong with this dude. Look at him. Something is wrong with this dude. And here he is. Let's let the maladroit doofus speak.
Mayor Johnson, we've all seen the horrific video of Irena Zaruska being stabbed in the neck on public transportation. In Chicago, we have countless examples of women being punched in the face, choked out, robbed, abused, murdered by violent repeat offenders. And your only legislation or in regards to public safety on public transportation is don't smoke cigarettes. Is there anything that you'd like to say to the women who have been abused by violent repeat offenders in the city of Chicago?
Well, first of all, my community safety plan is far more substantive than just asking people not to smoke. Our investments in community safety have been unprecedented, quite frankly, and public safety and community safety will always remain my top priority. Our deputy mayor can speak very cogently about the community safety plan, which is the people's plan, and the ultimate goal is to drive violence down in the city of Chicago, whether it's on a train or in a neighborhood. There are way too many individuals, of course, that have been victimized by violence, and it, again, is my top priority to continue to make sure that we're investing in our detectives division as our detectives bureau coordinates and collaborates with our counterintelligence, and all of our stakeholders come together to drive violence down the city of Chicago. Many of these acts, as you have described, are quite horrific, and that's why I'm working hard every single day to make sure that even with the 30% reduction in homicides, even with the over 35% reduction in shootings and shooting victims, as we continue to get a handle on robberies. Look, any act of violence is one act too many, and I'm going to work hard every day to ensure that we build the safest, most affordable big city in America.
Now, did you hear what this lizard person just said? We boldly reject all acts of violence, including political violence, especially political violence. Wait. How many people just got shot in your city, dog? I thought you boldly reject violence. No. You give lip service. This is the demon known as Brandon Johnson that I was trying to show you earlier. This Gila monster, this swamp creature. Don't you look like the swamp creature from when you was a kid? The webbed hands with stupid pointy head. He is. I knew it was a clip I was looking for. I just sat here and I kept looking. Here he is.
Jails and incarceration and law enforcement is a sickness that has not led to safe communities. I'm going to work hard every single day to protect the people who are caught up in violence in this city. Guess why? You want to know why? Because the vast majority of them look like me. He doesn't talk to black mayors about what it's like to live in communities that have been disinvested in. So no, we're not going to succumb to the sickness and the evil that Dr. King warned us about a generation ago. Jails and incarceration and law enforcement is a sickness that has not led to safe communities. I'm going to work hard every single day to protect the people who are caught up in violence in this city. Guess why? You want to know why? Because the vast majority of them look like me. He doesn't talk to black mayors about what it's like to live in communities that have been disinvested in.
You know, and I'm going to tell you the worst thing about this. Jails and incarceration and quite frankly, if you want to go back to the mass jailing and incarceration of young black people, it was under his former Democrat president, Joe Biden. If you want to talk about the privatization of the prisons, it was under Bill Clinton. But this man is a staunch Democrat. You know, when we start talking about real hypocrisy, the Brandon Johnson's at the top of the list. That's enough of the maladroit doofus Brandon Johnson. Going on to the next. His next story is extremely disturbing, and that is the Spirit Airlines flight getting too close to Air Force One. Now, let's just keep it real. I wasn't on Air Force One. I wasn't on Spirit Airlines, so I don't know if the F-1 fighter jets scrambled and got close, but I know he's supposed to have fighter jets that escort him everywhere he needs to go. President Donald Trump, that is. Back to what I was saying. Now, I'm sure that Air Force One is supposed to have fighter pilots escorting them, and I can't say that they weren't escorting them, but what I can say is this. It makes no damn sense that a commercial airliner would get anywhere near the president's plane. I'm sorry. We're not talking about the head basketball coach of some small town university. We're talking about the president of the United States of America, man. The president of the United States of America. The most powerful nation in the world. And probably in a couple multiverses as well. And probably in a couple of galaxies as well. And I'm just totally confused as to how something like this could happen.
Well, this is one you don't hear every day. A Spirit Airlines flight heading for Boston got a bit too close to Air Force One over New York on Tuesday. Listen to this.
Pay attention, Spirit 1300, turn 20 degrees right. Spirit 1300, turn 20 degrees right now. Spirit Wings 1300, turn 20 degrees right immediately. 20 degrees right, Pay attention. Spirit 1300, traffic's off your left wing by 8 miles, 747. I'm sure you can see who it is. It's flight level 320, maintain 330. I'll keep an eye out for him. He's white and blue. Pay attention, get off the iPad.
Goodness gracious. A Spirit spokesperson says Spirit Airlines Flight 1300 followed procedures and air traffic control instructions while en route to Boston and landed uneventfully at Boston. Safety is always our top priority, the spokesperson said.
Now, first of all, I wouldn't fly Spirit Airlines if you gave me a free ticket. Telling you I wouldn't. You'd be like, hey, man, you got a free pass to fly all over the world. After the videos I've seen at Spirit Airlines, you could not pay me to get on Spirit Airlines. But I think it's mind-boggling that we could have this kind of incident. And then you factor in the fact that we've had what looked like helicopters hacked and taken control of and then slammed into into rivers and slammed into airlines. You got to wonder what's going on with this, ladies and gentlemen.